Hello, everybody, and welcome to this stream. Tonight, we are going to review a package that I've made. We're going to test it out, dive into the source code, dive into the tests, and if everything is correct, we are going to tag a stable release. So this is basically like the final run before I tag a package stable. Now, let me share my screen so you can see what we are going to do. And this is my screen, beautiful background. We don't need this. And let's just go to the package. Let me boot up Safari. Let's go to GitHub, spatie, laravel, Github-webhooks. So this is the package that I've been working on. And what this package basically does is that it allows you to easily handle GitHub webhooks. In a couple of our projects, we need to do this. We need to listen to some events that happen on a GitHub repository. For instance, we have a GitHub integration at Flare. Flare, that is the error tracker that my colleagues and I have built. And we have like GitHub integration here. And basically, whenever an issue or PR is closed, it might potentially lead to an error being marked as resolved as well. And for that, we listen to GitHub webhooks. And in Flare, it's not the first time where we needed those GitHub webhooks. So I've coded it up in, I think, 2 or 3 applications now. And I thought, hey, let's extract this to a package so we can use the same solution everywhere. So that's what we're going to do. If you have any questions, I've got the chat open on my second window. So I'll keep an eye a little bit on it. So if you have any questions or remark, just let me know. Let's maybe first take a look at the GitHub webhooks documentation, so you got a feeling what is possible with webhooks. So GitHub basically has very good documentation on this, and the interesting page is this one: webhook events and payloads. So here you can see what they'll actually send to you whenever a certain thing happens. So if we maybe take a look at the issues webhook, you can see here that it's available on most of the things. And here you can see what the payload is. And one of the most important payload properties is action. So if we are working with an issue, these things can happen. An issue can be opened, edited, deleted, pinned, unpinned, and so on. And there's basically a lot of things that GitHub sends you. Here's like an example of an entire payload. So yeah, you get a lot of detail here. Like if we are continuing with our issue example, and imagine that an issue is opened, then you get the entire user here and all of the properties of the user. So an important thing here is, like I've said, that action key that is there. And another important thing, and I think it's listed on top of this page. Let me reload it. We need to wait a little bit. Here we are. Another important thing is that all of these payloads also have headers. And inside the X GitHub event header, you'll find the event that triggered delivery. So the event is one of these things. And yeah, then you have, for instance, issues. And if you want to know what happened to an issue, then you have to take a look at the action, and then you know if the issue was opened, edited, and so on. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. Yeah, okay, we're good. Let's take a look at how this package works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this package inside of a fresh Laravel application and see if it actually does what is mentioned in the README. So this is like my final check if everything is in order. Now I've mentioned those events and those events and actions and how that works. Now, if you're using the package, you don't really need to know that because this is how you can handle stuff using the package. So when it's installed, you have a config file, and inside that config file, you can define certain jobs that need to happen. So high level, this is how it works. GitHub will send a webhook to your application. We will take a look inside of the jobs array if there is a job that needs to be fired whenever a webhook is arriving at our application, and then it will perform the work on the queue. Why do we do that on the queue and not in the request itself? Because GitHub expects you to immediately respond to if a webhook is successful or not. And by this way, we can do the work on the queue and make the initial request much faster. And also, when there is something wrong with handling that job, we can retry the job without GitHub having us to send another webhook. Now that event header and action type in the payload, you really don't need to know that when you're using the package. This is how you can configure it. So you can just do the name of the event, then the action, and then you can specify which job should be executed. So it hides a lot of complexity for you. Now let's go over other things in this config file. We also need to configure a signing secret. There's some verification on the webhook. So whenever GitHub sends you something, you can actually verify if it was GitHub that sent you something and not somebody that wants to screw with your app. There's also a model here that can be configured. So that's also something interesting to know. Whenever a webhook arrives, we are going to store it in the database. So you have a log of everything that that was sent to your application. There's also a pruning option. This is something that was freshly added to Laravel, I think a couple of weeks ago. There are now pruning capabilities, and this basically deletes records that you don't need anymore. And I've built it into this package. When you run the PHP artisan model prune command, and this is a Laravel command, then it will delete everything in the GitHub log, in the GitHub webhook log inside this model that is older than 10 days. Then we have some other options, but you can leave this to the defaults. And I've also added an option to disable the verification of the webhook signature, and this can be handy when you're testing things locally. Okay, enough said about this package. Let's just try using it. So I'm going to open up my terminal, and we're going to create a fresh new application. So Laravel new GitHub webhooks, and I'm going to use GitHub webhooks app. Yep. Like that, a fresh Laravel application. GitHub webhooks app, this one. I have the habit of creating a Git repo, even though I'm not going to push it, but just to see what things have been changed if I do various commands. Just a nice thing to do. Okay, let's maybe see if this application actually works. And we have a Laravel application here. So going to copy this. We are going to key generate those obvious things. And then we can take a look at the README and just copy paste the things that I've put in there. So we need to composer require this package. Okay, cool, installed. Then we must publish the config file. Oh, and there's a new copy button here. That's handy. That, okay, it's being copied. And if I do git status, you can see that we have that webhooks config file here. Let's take a look at the content. And sure enough, this is what is also in the README. Okay. Scroll a little bit down. Next, we must publish the migration. So I've already explained that we write all of the incoming webhooks in a database. So like that. Okay, the migration is being copied like that. Let's maybe take a look at how it looks like. So it's very simple. We have an ID. We keep the URL of where the webhook came in. This is something that I've added because I can imagine that maybe you want to handle webhooks at multiple endpoints of your application. Maybe you want to take a look at multiple repos. And this way, in your code, you can check on which URL in your application the webhook arrived. We also have a name here. This is an implementation detail of the Laravel webhook client that is being used under the hood. I'm going to come back to that. The headers of the request, the payload of the request, if an exception occurred while processing this webhook, and then some timestamps. So nothing too bad here. I don't know if you hear it via my mic, but I hear that there's like a helicopter hanging over my house, and now it goes away. Yeah, okay, that's gone. That's good. Okay, let's migrate the database, and I guess that this won't work because I don't have a database yet. So let's create it. I got a handy function for that, db create, and let's just copy paste this. That, now we have it. So if I now migrate, should be good, and we are good. And then we must take care of the routing. So we are going to get, add a route to the application to where GitHub must send webhooks. So let's open up this project in PHP Storm. No questions yet. That's good. So I guess it's either incredibly boring or incredibly interesting. I don't know. I hope incredibly interesting and clear. So we have our webhooks table. We are going to do the routing. So it's this one. And I can put this in routes web. And here I can do the route GitHub webhook. So this is a macro which just register a post route. And I'm going to listen to this URL, GitHub webhooks, like that. And here I say that, because this will be a post route underlying, Laravel will expect a CSRF token, but GitHub won't send one. So we need to put that in an array where Laravel knows that we shouldn't expect a CSRF token. So this should be the same URL as I used here. So I'm going to paste this. I guess my colleague Alex mentioned that to me, but I'm going to test that out later, that you could also just register this route in the API, and then no CSRF tokens will be expected. I'm going to test it out in a bit. And now we seem to be good. Yeah. Okay, now we can configure things. So in our configuration here, we have a signing secret that we can set. Now I'm going to use some dummy values, not something real. How many people are watching here? About 25. I guess there are no jerks here who are going to mess up with my live stream and send out webhooks to the endpoint that I'm going to share in a bit. Don't do that. Don't ruin my stream. So here I should have a signing secret, and I'm not going to use the env file, but I'm going to use abc123 like that. I think you set the CSRF in the wrong middleware. Yeah, indeed, it's the wrong middleware. Thanks for mentioning that, Michelle. It should be verify CSRF token. That's it. Okay. Yeah, having like a live chat here is like having an extra brain. Good. Where were we? Ah, yeah, we were busy with configuring stuff here. And I'm going to use this comment here. So whenever you create a new webhook endpoint at GitHub, they will send a ping event. You will see that in a second. So we need a job for that as well. So make job ping webhook. Yeah, like that. Here in the constructor, we will get the event that is saved into the database. So we need to store that on a public property, webhook call, like that. What's the problem here? Property promotion only allowed in PHP 8. So let's add PHP 8 in Composer JSON. I'm going to remove this one. Like that. Okay. And here in the handle method, we can do our stuff. So what am I going to do here? You know what? I'm going to send it to Ray just to that we can inspect things very easily. So let me install Ray here. Ray. If you don't know Ray yet, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's a desktop application that allows you to debug stuff very easily. You can get it on my ray.app. So Ray webhook, this webhook call, and here I can actually send the event action name. So that is the event. In the example that I've just shown you, the event was issues, and action. In the example we just showed you, that was opened. And event action name just combines the two. So this will be issues opened if an issue was opened. But we are going to get, hopefully, ping here. Okay, like that. Now we are going to open up a tunnel to my MacBook here. So it's GitHub Webhooks app. Yeah, here I can do valet share. And don't be a jerk. Do not send any traffic to this one. Don't interrupt my stream here. So if I visit this I should see the application, but I don't. And I do. It was just waiting for a little bit. So if any traffic to this endpoint will get sent to my application here. Okay. Let's configure something at GitHub. So let's take a look. GitHub spatie laravel GitHub webhooks. We'll just work with this one. And here in the settings in webhooks, I can add a webhook to this URL. And I think we also need what we configured here on the web. So GitHub webhooks here. Here we are going to set our secret, and it's ABC123. Let's just copy it like that and just send me any event here. Okay, let's boot up array and see if we will get something. And I'll also put this on the screen like that. And hopefully our URL will get hit in a second. And it does, and we're getting a 500. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Job class does not exist. Yeah, that's what I forgot to do. So in the config file, probably the job name is not correct because I have like an extra GitHub webhooks namespace here, but let me just type handle ping. Didn't I name it like that? No, it's ping webhook. Ping, it doesn't it autocomplete. Let's take a look. Ping webhook in app jobs. Here I don't get any autocompletion. Yeah, now I do. Ping webhook class. So I want to have this one. Okay. I'm going to minimize this so this stays on screen. And I think at GitHub, we can easily resend the event. So let's go to this one. And here is where I configured that webhook. And here at recent deliveries, we can see the webhook that was trying to be delivered. Let's click. We see that there was a response of 500, but now we can try again. So let's re-deliver this payload and see if we get what we expect here. Yeah, and we got ping from our ping webhook. So this actually worked, and we get a 200 here. So you can see we've been busy, I think, for like 10 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, and we've already handled our first webhook. Now let's also go to the database so you can see that it's actually being stored there. Here we must have GitHub Webhooks app. And here in GitHub Webhooks call, you can see that we have two events. We have two because GitHub sent us two, but the first one, we failed at handling it. And if everything is good, then you can see here an exception that we got here, that exception that happened. Wait, let me remove this. Yeah, this is the exception itself. And you can see that we retried here. We got no exception. So this one has been handled. Right now, we're only handling that ping webhook, but let's now try handle everything. So there's a character that you can use, the star, to just send all of the incoming webhooks to a certain job. So let's rename this all webhooks process GitHub webhooks. Webhooks job, like that. And here are going to get the action name. But what you can also do with a webhook call is get something from the payload. And it's actually a function, so you can go deep inside of the payload itself. But I think if you don't get anything, then it will just give you the entire payload. You can also get webhook call the headers, which is a Symfony header bag, and you can just say, I want to have all headers on this one. Okay, so now that's in Ray. Yeah, let's start trying this out. So let me just clear the screen and try it again. So we are now handling all webhooks. So let's just try doing some things. So let's maybe create an issue to see if we would get an incoming webhook. Hello, fellow artisans. Capital. Let's submit a new issue like that. And hopefully we will get the webhook here now. And we do. We got a webhook of issues opened. This is the payload. So we got the issue with a lot of information with the URLs, some things on the organization and the sender. I guess this will be my user. Yeah. And also which headers were on the request. That's nice. Okay, let's try another one. Maybe leave a comment. This is a comment like that. And let's see if we get something here. It takes a couple of seconds. Yeah, issue comment created. We also get a lot of info. Let's just maybe close it. I guess something will happen then as well. Yeah, so now we're handling basically every webhook in our Laravel application. So yeah, this is issue closed. Let's maybe clean up after ourselves and just delete it. Oh, I got here a reaction from somebody. I guess this is somebody watching the stream. Did we get a webhook for that? I don't know if the reactions here are having a webhook. I guess not. Okay, let's just basically delete this and see if we get an event for that. Let's wait a little bit. And sure enough, we have issues deleted here as well. Now, just for fun, let's see if discussions also have webhooks. I don't know. I didn't test this beforehand. So let's try it. A new discussion, maybe announcement. Hi, everybody. Hello, world. Like that. Discussion. See if a webhook would come in. This one doesn't seem to have a webhook yet. That's funny. Did something go wrong here? No, we got some okays here. This is like the first error, so I guess no webhook is sent for discussions yet. Maybe let's take a look at the docs. Yeah, discussions is kind of new, so maybe they just don't do that yet, but let's make sure. Otherwise, maybe I have to add something to the package. Discussion, yeah, there's something here. Discussion can be created. Why didn't I get that one? Was it stored in the database here? No. This is issues. That's funny. I are currently in beta. So yeah, I don't know if everybody will get them because I got no special beta access or something. Let's maybe try something else. Maybe label. Label isn't in beta. So let's maybe try that one. This one. Labels here. Let's maybe try and create one. New label. Hi there. That. Create a label. Let's see if we get that one. And sure enough, we get that label created. And here we get the label, and I guess we got hi there. Okay, so yeah, that's I think everything that I wanted to test out to make sure that that everything is working. Maybe now is a good time to go over the source code for the last time and over the tests. So let's open up the package itself. So laravel-github-webhooks. Oh, it's opening on my second screen. Let me drag it out here. Okay, let's go over this one. Let's maybe take a look at composer.json first. This package has two dependencies outside of Laravel itself, and that is Laravel package tools. Laravel package tools basically is a helper package for creating other packages. And what Laravel package tools offers you is a service provider called package service provider. And on this service provider, the package service provider, there are a lot of methods that make it very easy to configure your package. So here, in this method, configure package, you get a package object and you can basically say, hey, the name of the package is this, it has a config file, and it has a migration. And if you would do that with a regular service provider that Laravel offers, then these methods would be much more verbose. You need to register the config file, you have to merge your config file with the defaults and so on. So it's basically a helper package. And it's a little bit my hope that these methods will make it into Laravel itself someday. The second dependency that we have is on the Laravel webhook client package, which is also a package of ours. And this package allows you to process all kinds of webhooks. So it's a little bit of a service agnostic version of this package. So Laravel GitHub Webhooks, it just builds on this package, and it takes care of all that handling of the event header and the action and the routing of the incoming GitHub webhooks. You're going to see that in a minute. That this package basically only add some extra logic on top of this one. Now, I'm not going to go to this one in detail. If you want to know more about that one, go and visit that repo on GitHub. Okay, let's take a look at what happens here. And you can see here in the structure of my package that I like to structure my packages like Laravel applications. So the config is in config, the migrations live in database migrations. We have an HTTP here with controllers, jobs, and models, just like in a regular Laravel application. So maybe let's go through this, in the life cycle of the package. So let's see what happens first. And the first thing that happens is that GitHub will call our application. And in the service provider, you can see that when you register that GitHub webhooks macro, that we are going to register a post route to a GitHub webhooks controller, which is this one. And here you can already see that we use some of the generic Laravel webhooks package. This webhook config and this webhook processor, they both come from the generic webhook client. So basically, the webhook processor is a class that manages an incoming webhook, and you can configure it with a config object. And here in this config object, you can see that we are going to use some of the config values that are in the configuration file of this package. So we get the signing secret. We say that we expect the signature header to have this name. This is the actual name that GitHub uses to send us a signature. We want to validate that signature with this class. We also have a profile. This determines which webhooks we want to handle. We can configure the model to be used, the job to be used. And we want to say that we want to store these headers. So maybe let's take a look at the signature validator first. So this one is going to verify if the request, if the webhook request is actually coming from GitHub. So what GitHub is going to do is going to send an extra header, namely this one, and it will contain a value, and that value is calculated like this. We are going to create a hash with this algorithm, and the base of the hash is the content of the request and that signing secret. So that signing secret, you've all seen me use it in the stream, but if you're using this package for real, you need to keep it secret. So it's that ABC123 thing that we configured there. And basically only GitHub knows that secret, and you know that secret. So you are the only ones who can calculate like the same hash. So if GitHub, if you calculate the hash of that and that matches the one in that request, then you know that this webhook request came from GitHub, and then you can process it. And here you can see that when we set the verify signature config value to false, that we're always going to say, hey, this is a valid webhook. You should only set this to true in a local environment, not in a production environment, of course. Okay, let's go back to the controller. So you saw that validator. And here we have that webhook processor. Let's maybe go to that. So the processor gets the requests and the configuration. Let's see. So this piece of code is from the generic webhook client. It's been a while since I've read this code myself, so I hope that I programmed it in a logical way. So we are going to ensure that the signature is valid. Let's see. Yeah, here we are going to use that signature validator that you saw, and we are going to call that is valid thing. So that is the code that you saw here. Let's go back to the web processor. If that isn't valid, we are going to send out an event, invalid webhook signature event, and we are going to throw an exception. We issue this event so you can do stuff whenever there are calls when the webhook is not correct. This is basically a hacker messing with you, or somebody accidentally issuing that endpoint. You could use this event to block IP addresses and such. All right, so that's ensure valid signature. Here we have our webhook profile class, and here we are going to determine if we should process this webhook. I'm not going to go into details for this. This is basically a class where you can determine if this request should be handled or not with some custom logic of your own. But for our package, we are going to handle it always. So then we are going to store the webhook in the database. So we are going to use our model and call store webhook on it. So let's take a look at our model and store webhook. Should be here somewhere, or maybe it's on the parent. Yeah, store webhook. Here you can see that we are going to store the headers, and the other properties. Let's go back to our processor. Where we here? Yeah, so we have ensured the valid signature. We determined that we should process this request. We are going to store the webhook call. Then we are going to process the webhook. And with processing the webhook, we are just going to dispatch a job, and we are going to handle all of the logic there, just to keep the initial request very, very small. Then we are going to create a response here. And here we are going to use another class here, respond to valid webhook. This class can be configured as well, but I'm not going to dive in details. And by default, we are just going to send message OK. And this will have a status code of 200. And by this way, GitHub and all other services that send a webhook request know that the webhook was handled or stored correctly on the receiving side, and that they don't need to resend it in the future. Okay, let's take a look at what happens further. So let's go back to the webhook processor. Here we have dispatched a job. And we have configured that job to be this job, process GitHub webhook job. And here is where the GitHub specific parts live. So what we are going to do here is we are going to send out an event as a string, GitHub webhooks, and then the event action name. So in our example, that is issues.created or ping or label created. And yeah, I don't know if all of you know this, but you can have events like this. So in Laravel, it's very common to have your events that they are classes, real classes, but you can also have like a string-based event, and yeah, then you can basically just dynamically build up your event name, because an event name, it is just a string like any other. This is also explained in the README of the package. And then what we are going to do here, we fired off that initial event here, but now we should fire off that job classes that we defined. So where is my other project? Oh, I already closed it here. Let's open this again. So what we should do now is actually call these jobs that we configured ourselves in our config file. So how are we going to do that? It's basically a glorious collection chain of the jobs that we configured. And we're basically going to filter out certain stuff. If it's, we are going to loop over everything in jobs, and we are going to take a look at event action name. And event action name, wait, I'm going to show that in this config file. Event action name, that is this one. And job class name, that is this one in that array. So if our event action name is star, then we are just going to handle everything. We are going to handle true. And otherwise, we are going to check if the event action name, so this one, issues opened, is equal to one of these two. It should be equal to the event action name of our webhook call, so what we stored in the database, or the event name itself. So if you can also have a class like this. So instead of issues opened, the fully the event action name, we could also use the event name issues, and this would basically handle all incoming webhooks about issues, about all and all of the actions. So issues opened, issues deleted, they would all be sent to this class and the specialized class. Good. I don't know what if we need this filter actually. Let me just test that. So all of the test passes, and if I remove this filter, will all the test pass? Yeah, we don't need that, so let's remove that. That's something that I used while debugging. So here we determined which classes should be called. Here we are going to loop over those, and if a class doesn't exist, we are going to throw a nice dedicated exception. And at this point, we know that all classes exist, and we are just going to dispatch them, and we are going to give them the webhook call. So this is the stored webhook call in the database. And then, yeah, then we will arrive here in our handling code, and that's where users of the package can just put any logic that they want. So that is basically the heart of the package. It's really not a difficult package. I think you could call this like a meat and potatoes package, like there's no big idea here. But I think it's pretty nice that you don't have to handle all of these things yourself. So you don't need to take care of storing it in the database, or checking the header for the event name or the action property of the payload. The package basically does that for you. You just need to configure a line like this, and then you're good. Okay, I think we covered all of this. So maybe let's do the last part and take a look at the tests here. Now, if you're following me on Twitter, you know that I'm a little bit into Pest lately. Pest is a new test runner with a emphasis on developer experience. So it tries to make testing as easy as possible. And today I've also shared that together with my colleagues, we are creating a course on testing. And it's called Testing Laravel. And it's basically targeted at the very beginners for testing, if you don't know anything about testing. But so then this course is very good for you. But even if you know already a couple of things about testing, then this course can be worthwhile as well, because we will be sharing some of the test suites of our applications, and we will show you the tricks that we ourselves are using here. If you're interested in this, just subscribe here. A little secret that isn't mentioned on here is when you subscribe here, you get a coupon code that gives you a 10% discount. Why am I mentioning this? Because there's also a Pest version of this course. So whenever you will purchase this course, you will get the course in two flavors. One is a PHP unit version of the course, and another is the Pest course. So whichever testing tool ends up like being the most popular in the next couple of years, this course will have you covered. And here you can see that we handle a lot of subjects here. Okay, that about testing. Let's go back to the project here and take a look at the actual tests that we have here. Now, maybe you think that testing a webhook is kind of difficult, but it's actually not. Basically, you're just sending in your test. You should send like the webhook request that GitHub sent you to your application, and you don't need to do everything in the payload, because your test really doesn't care about all of the specific properties that GitHub will send you. But you should send a request with the correct header and with that action property, and with that you can already test the entire package. Now let's try to go through this. So here we have our first test here. I'm going to handle this Oh no, I'm going to handle this already. So um, how can you add like an endpoint in your tests to receive something? Well, it's actually very simple. You can basically register routes from anywhere in your application. I think many people think that routes should be registered in the routes file. And in a normal application, sure, they should be registered in the route file, but it basically works from anywhere where you when you call route. So in your test case, you can just basically do route, do anything you want here, get, post, whatever you want, and that route will exist. And so here we can basically just use our own macro, which under the hood will register a post route at this endpoint webhooks. Here we are going to set the signing secret to ABC123, so we have a nice value to test with. So let's take a look at the first test here. So what we are going to do is we are going to set up some headers, and we know that we want this xhub GitHub event header, because this is what GitHub will send us to describe what sort of webhook will get sent. We need to send a certain payload, and I got a dummy payload here, A1. And then we are going to post it as JSON to our webhooks route. So that's this one. We're going to send it to payload. We are going to add a signature to our headers. And let's maybe take a look at that function. That function lives in pest.php, and this is basically the file where you will register all of the little helper functions that you need. And what we are going to do here is we are going to calculate the signature that we expect. So we are going to do what GitHub does at their end to calculate that signature. So we are going to use this algorithm to hash to create a hash that is based on the payload and the signing secret that we configured. And we are going to put that in the header that we expect. So that is what that add signature does. In this test, we just want to check if we have a valid signature, if the post JSON call will be successful, and in this case, it is successful. Now, if I forget adding that signature here, let me do it manually, then this test should fail because that signature isn't valid anymore. But let me just add that again and make it green again. So what I've done there manually, I'm doing here in a test. So here I just manually set an invalid signature, and then I say we should here get a response that it's forbidden, and that works. Let's see this test. It will accept a webhook with an invalid signature when the validation is turned off. So this is what we could use locally. We could set the verify signature to false. We are going to use an invalid signature. We are going to post JSON, but now we are going to assert that this is successful. I'm running the tests here whenever I've read through it. I'm not going to do that anymore. Just let me run this test. So let's run them all. You can see that all of these tests are passing. It will dispatch a single job when it matches the event name. So here we are going to see if the right job is being dispatched. So what we are going to do here is we are going to set up some jobs dynamically in our configuration file. We say that for issues, this job should be dispatched. For this event, we want to dispatch this, and so on. We are going to say in the headers that there is an incoming webhook request for ping. A ping doesn't have like a special payload, so it's empty. We are going to send that to our application, and then we are going to assert that a certain certain event was dispatched. So we faked it. We faked it here, and I put here the specific jobs that we want to fake here, because there's also another job that in the webhook client package itself that just processes all jobs, and I don't want to fake that because otherwise these wouldn't be called. So this is a way to fake only certain jobs, but not all jobs. If I would do this, then all jobs would be fake. But I only want to fake the ones that are in this test suite. So those are those jobs. Let's go back to our test here. So we've configured our package to handle these things. We have a ping header. We are going to post that. And here we are going to assert that the ping webhook job was dispatched and that the other ones that we configured aren't dispatched. So this gives us like a lot of confidence that this is actually working. Let's maybe break that. Where are we going to do that? Maybe in this job. Let's break that by just returning false here. And run the test again. And you can see that it now fails. If I do this, then the test runs again. Back to our test suite. And then basically we have a couple of variations on that, where we do a issues event to our application, and then we want to make sure, and the action is created, and then we want to assert that the handle all issues web hook job is being dispatched. So that's this one. And also the specific one. So the one for this action should be dispatched, but not the one that handles issue closed. So the issue closed webhook should be dispatched. It offers a wildcard. So here we are going to send out a ping event, and we are going to assert that the ping webhook job is being dispatched, and also the all one. Here we are going to we are going to expect that when we are using a non-existing class, that this test will throw a job class does not exist exception. And this is one of the little things that I really like about PEST. So here you can make your assertion at the end of this function, whereas with PHP unit, you would have to do your expectation, set your expectation before you actually do the work. But this reads quite nicely. And I think I shouldn't have compared it with PHP unit. I was talking to Nuno yesterday, the creator of PEST, and he said that yeah, we need to have like positive vibes around PEST, and we shouldn't constantly compare it to PHP unit because we don't want to put PHP unit down. I also think that PHP unit is a magnificent tool that has done a lot of cool things in the PHP ecosystem. So yeah, I don't want to criticize it too much because it's also a very, very good tool. But I very much like that throw functionality of PEST here. Let's continue. It will store a model on a successful webhook request. Yeah, here we are going to make some expectations that when we post a valid webhook, that the amount of webhook calls will be 1. And here we basically are going to make some expectations on what the event name should be. So the event action name for when you send something with issues opened should be issued opened. The event name should be issued. And the payload should be this. And here we also take the time to also write a test for the key that you can pass to payload. So here you can pass in a key deeply nested and then its value. So it picks out deeply nested this value. So you can reach out very easily in deeply nested values with payload. So that's basically the tests that are inside of the webhooks test. And I've also took the time to write a test for prunable, which is also an interesting test, really. So here we are going to test that if you call the prune artisan command, that all the older records will get deleted. So for this, we are going to actually play a little bit with time. And time is something that was a plugin that was newly added to Pest. I actually pushed the documentation of this plugin yesterday, and here you can basically manipulate the time in your test. So let's go to the actual test. We are going to freeze the time. We are going to say, hey, we want to delete every webhook call that is older than 5 days. Then we are going to create a webhook call. Then we are going to actually move forward in time for 5 days and then go back 1 second. So here we are not, this record is now not 5 days old because we're missing that second. So if we call prune, we still want to have like that one webhook call that we created here. But then if we are 1 second later, so now it's 5 days later, if we call model prune then we expect that that model is gone. And that's how we test this. So yeah, that's the entire test suite here. You can see that it's a lot of tests that actually make sure that, or I'm going to say this in another way. These are basically like feature tests. We are basically testing this whole package from the outside. We are just configuring things, we are posting things, and then we are going to assert that certain things happen. But there are basically none of the tests that are about how something is specifically implemented. And this is what I really like about that kind of tests. I really like, where we are not testing an implementation, but just the functionality that something offers. So yeah, I think that I've said everything that I want to say. I think we've gone over everything. If you want to check out the package, just go to the laravel-github-webhooks repo. This basically contains everything, that I've said. There are a couple of more smallish features that I didn't mention, but you'll find them all in the README. So yeah, if you want to handle webhooks in your Laravel application, just take a look at this package. Now we've gone through it all. I think I've just removed that filter call here. Yeah, so I had that issued open thing that I've added here. That can be removed. Now, git-diff, that's only that filter that is gone. All of the tests are good, so let's push this, commit, main. Oh, I should origin main, pull this, push this. Let's maybe run the test again just to make sure that everything is good, and everything is good. So I think I'm going to end off with just releasing this package because I think it's good. So in the change log, let's fill in the date for the initial release. It's 26 now. Like that. That's the initial release. And normally I release stuff with the command line, but let's just do it here in a more prominent way. This is version 00. It's release 100. It's the initial release. And with that, the package is released. Nowadays, packages picks up on it is really quickly. So yeah, now you can use it. So yeah, that is, I think, everything that I have for you. I hope that you like the stream. I hope you learned something. If you want to know more about testing, check out our testing course. Subscribe to the mailing list to get notified when it launches. And yeah, that is basically it for me. Let's stop sharing my screen. Let's check the comments here. Didn't know about the string event. That's cool. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool as well. It can be pretty handy. We're using it in a couple of other places too. Maybe I should tweet out that tip that you can just basically have everything as an event. Okay. Don't think I see any other questions. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching, everybody, and see you next time. Bye bye.